They are hiding. The mystery of Illy and the signs in the sky. The deep buzzing began first, vibrating through the floorboards, as if emerging from the earth itself. I live on the outskirts of Illy, Nevada, a town so quiet that even the local ghosts seem bored. But 3 nights ago, precisely at 2:13 a.m., I woke up startled to witness a light that didn't blink hovering silently over the pine trees in my backyard, motionless, unwavering, simply ... watching. I grabbed my cell phone, but it was dead. Not just discharged, but completely unresponsive. Even my analog watch had stopped working. Then the voices began. They didn't come from outside or from the forest. They emanated from within my own mind. Soft, repetitive, childlike. We see you, we see you. I tried to scream, but my body remained frozen. I was paralyzed in bed, with eyes wide open and my heart racing. That's when she appeared. A girl, maybe 10 years old, standing at the foot of my bed, pale as death, almost luminescent. No pupils, no lips, just emptiness. "Don't let them in," she whispered, but it was already too late. Her form flickered like damaged film, and suddenly she was inches from my face, her cold breath smelling of ozone and metal. When she touched my forehead with her fingertip, I felt a surge of images flood my mind. Vast structures beneath desert sands, creatures moving in shadows, and endless rows of human bodies suspended in glowing chambers. "They've chosen you as a conduit," she said, her voice overlapping with others. "I was the first, 27 years ago. I tried to warn them too." Then she disappeared, leaving behind a small burn mark on my sheet in the shape of what looked like a constellation I couldn't identify. Sleep eluded me for the rest of the night. When dawn finally came, the light remained visible, only now higher, more distant, as if patiently waiting. I reported it to the sheriff. I told my neighbor. I even posted about it in a local Facebook group. Everyone assumed I was drunk or joking, but something inside me had changed. There was a hollowness in my chest, as if something essential had been scooped out and replaced with a cold, humming void. I began to notice patterns everywhere, in the arrangement of pebbles on my driveway, in the flight paths of birds, in the static between radio stations. They seemed to form messages, equations too complex for my mind to process, yet somehow I understood their meaning on a level beyond consciousness. I found myself drawing the same geometric shapes repeatedly, covering pages with intricate diagrams that made my eyes hurt when I looked at them directly. But in my peripheral vision, they seemed to move, to breathe, to communicate. One morning, I discovered I'd written an entire notebook in a language I don't know. The handwriting was mine, but the symbols belonged to no earthly alphabet. When I showed it to Dr. Brenner, the linguistics professor at the community college, his face went white. "Where did you see this?" he demanded, his voice trembling. Later that day, he disappeared. His car was found abandoned at the edge of town, the interior coated with the same black substance I would later find in my bathroom. All the mirrors in my house began to fog up spontaneously. I would come home and find muddy footprints leading from the front door ... straight to my bed. My dog, Waffles, refused to enter my room, growling at nothing, and every night, exactly at 2:13 a.m., the light would return. One night, I tried to film it again. I positioned a GoPro near the window and let it record while I hid under the covers like a frightened child. By morning, the GoPro had vanished. It didn't move. It completely disappeared. No broken windows, no forced entry, just ... gone. That same day, I found a strange symbol burned into my kitchen table. 3 intersecting circles, with what looked like coordinates inscribed in a language I couldn't recognize. The air in my house grew heavy, charged with electricity that made my skin crawl. Electronics malfunctioned in bizarre ways. My microwave would run backward, the digital clock flashing random symbols rather than numbers. Even the water from my faucet began to run black for a few seconds before clearing, leaving an iridescent film on everything it touched. That's when I began to see the figures. Tall, emaciated, motionless, perfectly still in the field behind my house. Sometimes 2, sometimes 5. Once I counted 11. No eyes, no mouth, just skin stretched over elongated skulls. And that same girl, "Don't listen to them," she whispered. "They speak through dreams, and if you answer, they will never leave." I started documenting everything with manic precision. My walls became plastered with photographs, newspaper clippings, hand-drawn maps marking sightings across the county, red strings, connected events, dates, locations, revealing a pattern spanning decades. The oldest report I found was from 1952, when 7 children from Ely Elementary School drew identical pictures of tall friends who visited them at night. All 7 children vanished within a month. Their teacher, Miss Helen Weaver, was institutionalized after claiming that they weren't taken. They were transformed. I located her in a nursing home 3 towns over. She was 97, barely lucid, but when I mentioned the figures, her rheumy eyes cleared instantly. She grabbed my wrist with surprising strength, pulling me close enough to see the yellow stains on her teeth. "They use the children because they're still malleable," she hissed. "But they've been preparing adult vessels too, special ones. She pressed her thumb against the triangular marks on my neck and smiled. "You're almost ready." That night, I dreamed of Helen, younger, standing in a circle of the tall figures. "I've kept our secret for 70 years, she told them. "The next keeper is here." In the dream, they all turned to look at me. 3 days later, I noticed the marks. Small triangular scars, perfectly symmetrical, had appeared at the base of my neck. They didn't hurt, they didn't bleed, they simply ... existed. The electricity in my house began to have problems. The lights flashed in sequences. 3 short, 3 long, 3 short. Classic SOS signals. My television would turn on by itself, always tuned to static, except occasionally I could make out silhouettes moving behind the noise. People in town began to avoid me. I catch them staring at me when they think I'm not looking. Even my sister, who lives 2 states away, hasn't returned my calls since I mentioned the lights. Last night, I found a small metallic object embedded in my forearm, the size of a grain of rice. It moves under my skin when touched, always returning to the same position. I tried cutting it out, but the wound sealed instantly, leaving a thin silver scar that glows faintly in darkness. My appetite has disappeared completely, yet I don't feel hunger. Instead, I experience a strange satisfaction when standing beneath the night sky, as if somehow being nourished by the darkness itself. Most disturbing are the gaps in my memory. I'll suddenly find myself in unfamiliar locations with no recollection of how I got there. Once, in the middle of the desert, 16 miles from home, standing before a rock formation arranged in concentric circles. Another time at the abandoned military bunker outside town, my fingers bloody from scratching equations into the concrete walls. Last Tuesday, according to my neighbor's security camera, I stood motionless in her backyard for 4 hours in the pouring rain, my face tilted upward, mouth moving in silent communication. I have no memory of this. Several times I've found voice recordings on my phone that I don't remember making. In them, I speak in multiple overlapping voices, some not even sounding human. The most recent one contained a single phrase repeated in 9 different languages, including 3 that linguistics professors at the university couldn't identify. The vessels are almost ready for the convergence. This morning, I discovered a journal under my bed in my handwriting, but with notes I don't remember writing. The pages detail coordinates, star maps, and technical specifications for something called a biomechanical receptor vessel. The last page contains only 1 sentence, repeated hundreds of times in increasingly frantic writing. They don't come from above, they come from within. Yesterday, I woke up and found my bathroom filled with a black, viscous liquid that defied the laws of physics, flowing up the walls and pooling on the ceiling in pulsating drops. The stench was unbearable, like rotting meat and burnt electronics. When I tried to escape, the doorknob dissolved in my hand, and my flesh momentarily fused with the metal. I screamed until my throat hurt, but no sound came out. Instead, I heard thousands of whispered voices speaking simultaneously through my own vocal cords. The membrane is thinning. Soon there will be no separation. I collapsed, with blood streaming from my ears. When I regained consciousness, hours later, the bathroom was spotless. Not a trace of the black substance remained, but my reflection, ... God help me. My reflection blinks half a second after I do now. It's subtle but unmistakable. Something else is looking back at me. The night terrors have reached unbearable levels. I wake up drenched in sweat, my body contorted into impossible positions. Once, with my head turned 180 degrees, looking at my own back. My limbs feel strange, as if they've been replaced while I slept. Sometimes, I catch them moving independently, fingers tracing symbols on any surface they can reach. I've resorted to restraining myself to the bed with plastic zip ties, but every morning they are carefully cut, arranged in perfect parallel lines on my bedside table. This will be my last entry. They've shown me what's coming. The lights aren't ships, they're windows. Tears in reality itself. And we humans are nothing but elaborate sensors. They've cultivated organic receivers designed to detect something they fear, something that's hunting them, something that has finally found them.